What if your desires were a tool that you were supposed to use? Your desires will either show up in your life consciously or subconsciously, which means you'll either be actively aware of your desires and move towards them, and you'll use them to set goals in your life and take actions to work towards them. Or they are things that will manifest subconsciously in your life through the things that you talk about, the things that you truly want, and seemingly ignore because there's some belief within you that you don't think you're deserving of achieving whatever desire you hold. So you push them down into a deeper part of you that you don't have immediate access to, and you chase desires of fitting in, more shallow desires. You chase the ones that are at the surface that aren't necessarily yours, and you spend your life living a life that is not the one you truly desire because you have conditioned yourself to hold on to the desires of other people that have been projected onto you and live a life according to that instead of the life that you truly want. Your desires are not something to be scared of. They're not something to be afraid of. And I know that sometimes it's easy to be afraid of your desires because achieving them could mean that you give up the life you have now. Achieving them could mean that you could truly be happy. But there's some part of you that just doesn't believe you deserve that. So you continue to live the life that was one that you didn't build. It was a blueprint that somebody else gave you, and you took it without thinking, and you started building based off of somebody else's blueprint. The thing is, life is really, really limited. We only have so many years on this earth as individuals. And to spend your time and energy, that limited time and energy that you have in this lifetime, building the dreams of somebody else and not listening to the ones that you have, that may become one of your biggest regrets when you start to run out of time and energy. So it's good that you found this video now, because I'm going to tell you how to use your desires as a tool to build a blueprint of your life that you really want and start living it so that you can find purpose in your day-to-day life, in the small things. You can start appreciating even doing laundry because it's something that will give you clean clothes to wear as you move about your day, your life, building what you are trying to build, and see how your clothes are just something that dress you and ornament you and express the way that you want to be perceived in this world. Now, I'm a person who, for the past 26 years, my whole life, have been studying desire. I find it something that's so interesting because I have had many desires in my past that I have suppressed, and I did so unrealizingly. And those desires bottled up inside of me and came out in ways that were kind of destructive to the life I had built that wasn't mine. And that destructiveness can be hurtful. And I don't think pain is something you should try to avoid. But when it's there, it's trying to tell you something. And if you don't listen to it, it'll persist. And that manifests as chronic pain. It manifests as having behaviors and actions hurt the people that are around you, the people that you love, because you're not willing to have the courage to acknowledge your true desires. So now that you're watching this video, you're at least somewhat conscious that your desires show up in your life, either consciously or subconsciously. And because you have that level of awareness now, it is a choice. It's a choice for you to decide whether you want to allow them to continue showing up in your life subconsciously. And that's the beautiful thing about desire, is it takes you into the present moment. It shows you this is what you want right now. This is what you should be working towards right now. And it allows you to take the next step on your path. And as you take that step, the step after that unravels itself. But if you don't follow the desires, you sit in a point of inaction. You will never know what the second, the third, the fourth step is going to be if you don't take that first step. But if you see that step and you know you want to take it and you don't take it, you're not going to be able to continue on the journey you truly want to continue on. And this is what life is all about. It's about following the path that is meant for you, that feels the most right and aligned with you. Your desires hold a mirror up to you to show you who you really are and who you are supposed to be in this lifetime. And if you don't let yourself look at the mirror that is right in front of you, you will close your eyes or look elsewhere and create a picture that is not the actual truth, the image of who you are in this moment. And that's what you most need to know. If you don't know who you are, and if you want to find out who you are in this lifetime, who you're supposed to be, and let that unravel, you have to follow your desires. And the beautiful thing about desire, too, is sometimes you'll follow it, and you'll end up on a path you realize you don't want to be on anymore. But because you followed that path, you can always walk backwards and find a new path. And because you were able to explore this avenue of your mind, this avenue of your desire, you realize maybe it's something you don't desire so much anymore. And you learn more about the other paths that you follow, the ones that maybe you desire even more than this path that you just led yourself down, explored, followed that curiosity. It led you to the depths that you were supposed to explore just to realize you were supposed to come out and go somewhere else. But if you look at the greater picture of things, that small avenue of desire that you followed to realize that that avenue wasn't something you continue to desire following, leads you towards an even stronger desire. And every journey that you go on in following your desires will help teach you a lesson that you're supposed to learn. The soul desires growth, and it manifests itself in human desire. Think about a time where you experienced a lot of synchronicity in your life. Maybe you had the desire to go take a walk, or go to the library, and you took a walk, or you went to the library and you bumped into somebody that you haven't seen in a long time, that reminded you of a certain period of your life that maybe you needed reminding of in that moment. Maybe you had questions that needed to be answered, but if you don't ask the questions, they will never be answered. In the same way, desire is like a question. Is this what I want in my life? You ask the question. If you don't ask, you will never receive the answer. You ask the question, you receive the answer, and it allows you to figure out what question to ask next. So if you are a person who has suppressed your desires, if you're a person who just has felt this yearning to follow a certain path your whole life, and you don't acknowledge those desires, if you don't listen to them, they will grow and grow and grow. And maybe one day you'll build a life that you don't really want, and it'll crumble and fall apart to make room for your true desires. And maybe that's the path you're supposed to go down. But maybe you're supposed to now realize that your desires will lead you in that direction even faster with less destruction, hurting less people along the way. Or maybe you just needed a gentle reminder. You're already on that path now. A big reason that people don't acknowledge their desires is because they don't believe they're worthy of their desires. And it's actually just a matter of conflicting belief systems. You may not be acknowledging your desires because you don't think you're worthy of receiving them. And how you allow yourself to become worthy of those desires is to show yourself that you're worthy by microdosing your desires pretty much. So you have this bigger dream of becoming a musician. Well, you can slowly get yourself to believe that it is possible by microdosing becoming a musician, by practicing 10 minutes a day in front of a mirror, feeling like a rock star, imagining and envisioning that you are on stage in front of all of these fans that are cheering for you and really want to hear the songs that you have to perform. And by showing yourself a little bit more and more each day that that's something you're capable of, it gets you there eventually. It's kind of a practice that one is supposed to have. And it all kind of starts with identifying your belief system. Once you acknowledge that desire and you write it down, you kind of start to break it down after that. You say, okay, well, if this is something I truly desire, what in this moment is stopping me from getting there? Is it something that I'm holding on to? Is it something I don't believe I'm capable of doing? Why don't I believe I'm capable of doing it? Okay, well, I hold on to this belief and that belief and this belief that actually conflict with this larger desire. Why am I holding on to these beliefs? Well, in this situation in life, I had this thing happen to me, and it really affirmed that belief. And I haven't taken the time yet to consciously unpack it. And because I haven't done that, I still hold on to this belief. Well, in this very moment, I'm realizing that that's something I've not consciously unpacked. So now that I'm aware of it, it's something I can consciously unpack. How can I consciously unpack it? And you break it down and down and down, more and more and more. Ask yourself why 7 times. Why do I hold on to this? Well, why is that? Why is that? 7 times is a good amount of times to ask yourself why, to get to kind of the underlying root of the problem. And if you still have more whys, ask yourself. But usually if you ask yourself why 7 times, you can get to why you hold on to that limiting belief. And getting to your desires will... getting to those desires that you have requires you to unpack those limiting beliefs. And the cool thing about desire is once you unlock one, I like to think of it as like a map, but once you unlock one desire, once you reach that goal that you have, or show yourself that you can have it, the new one unfolds. For example, in my life, I really desired an artistic community. So I tried many things out to get to finding the kind of community that I wanted to find. I tried yoga, dancing, and I would be open and honest about my desire. I said, I want to find a community where I can play music and jam with people. And at the time, I was a consultant. I was not in the music world at all. Started going to yoga classes. Actually, I started with dance classes. I met someone in dance who taught yoga classes. I went to her yoga classes. I met someone in one of her yoga classes that told me he plays guitar at the studio. He invited me. I took my violin, which at the time I had not played in 6 years. Took my violin to this jam session and found out that I could slowly play notes that coincided with the chords that the people at the jam session were playing, and then string those notes together and play little melodies. And eventually I was learning how to improvise in a group setting, in a jam setting, in an art studio that ended up being a studio that I still go to that's super pivotal for me. But that was like a desire that I had. I didn't know how to get there, but I knew that I had it, and I was open and honest about it. And because I was open and honest about that desire to the people around me, and I knew why I was approaching certain things, and I was approaching certain things with intention, like I am going to this class so that hopefully I can find somebody who helps me grow community. Because I had that intention and that desire, and I went into my actions with those desires, I was able to manifest my desire in reality. And then once I found that desire, I found new desires to desire. Well, I want to work on this project with these people, or I want to make an album, make and record an album, or I want to be in a band. Those were all desires I had that unfolded after I found my artist community. And it just keeps on unfolding. I found my band through that studio. I am working on an album through the jam session, like the ideas that I come up with in my jam sessions. So it's all about allowing yourself to follow those desires, being open and honest about them, and that starts with acknowledging them. And then as you're moving through life with the intention of reaching your desire, you are able to identify what is aligned with you that comes into your field of vision as you're moving through life. And then take those opportunities. There's kind of a beautiful rhythm to it that you start to pick up on the more that you practice it, but it starts with acknowledgement. So if you don't feel like you're deserving or capable of achieving your desires, start with the small things. Start with the intentions. Find a way in your life to show yourself, it's just a tiny little way, small ways to show yourself that you're allowed to have the things that you want to have. You're allowed to work towards those things that you want to have. And the more you work towards them, the more you'll show yourself that you're actually really worthy of them, because looking back, you're like, yeah, I put in the work. I deserve it. And you kind of erase imposter syndrome. You say, I put in the work to be here. And if you find yourself in an environment where you start to have imposter syndrome, you now have evidence. You have the work to back up you being in those rooms. And that's something also to remind yourself of when you're in those situations and settings. When you start to have imposter syndrome, when that starts to creep in, remember to humanize the people around you. You know you put in the work. And that's all any of this takes, is you putting in the dedication, having the commitment, and having the intention. That's what got everybody into the room. And if it wasn't what got them in the room, do they actually deserve to be in the room? If they just got in by sheer connections, or if they were just born into the place, do they deserve it? Do they deserve it more than you? Especially if you've put in the work? Talent is not some magical skill people are gifted with. It's something that comes with putting in the reps and practicing and committing and having the character to really go after what you desire. So, with that all being said, I really hope this has helped you understand your desires a little bit more and see how they can serve you, and to learn to really listen to them, because they are some of the most beautiful human things out there. Like, AI can't desire something. It's not, that's something that's so unique to us. Your desires are a gift. They're a tool. So I hope you use them. If you have any questions, I'm thinking of creating more resources that teach and talk about desire. So if that's something you're interested in, leave a comment. Tell me a specific topic you'd like me to cover under that umbrella, and I will gladly dive more into it. Anyway, I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thank you for spending time with me in front of the screen, in front of the computer watching this. And I desire that you have a lovely, wonderful rest of your day.